Hey YouTube, this is GunDude73, and today I'm going to be doing a knife review, and we're looking at the Kershaw tilt. I can start off by saying I'm very excited to review this. This knife has pretty much been in my pocket since I got it. I really like it, and let's get started with the review here. Size-wise, the tilt is a large knife. It's 9.5 inches overall, with a 4-inch blade. That's what it's advertised as. But I measured this, and interestingly enough, you can see how the handle here is slanted. From the middle of the handle to the tip is 4 inches. From the top of the handle here to the tip it's 3.75 inches. And from the bottom of the handle here to the tip it's 4.25 inches. So they're just taking the average in between, which is interesting. You don't see companies do that. They usually give you the longest. It has a 3.5 inch cutting edge, 5.5 inch handle. The handle features a carbon fiber scale over a titanium liner with a titanium frame lock. And on this side we also have a clip which is also made out of titanium. It's laser etched tilt, as you can see, which is very nice. Get some close-up shots here. The blade has a very interesting Wharncliffe shape, which is very nice, very pointy. This particular knife is number 104. This features a Vanac 75 composite blade. Vanac 75, from what I've seen and read, is equivalent to roughly S90V or CTS 20CP, so it is a super steel. High vanadium, around 9%, 21% chromium. The interesting thing with this steel, though, is that it has 4.2% nitrogen, with very little carbon. So it's sort of like H1, but with edge retention. They DLC coated the blade and they DLC coated the frame here. They had issues because how they cut this frame, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about, it left halos in the titanium because it was very hot. This knife was cut out using wire EDM technology, which means that it's a very thin, hot piece of metal that makes the cuts. So you can see the frame lock here is very thin, as opposed to another frame lock that's popular, the Sebenza. You can see how much wider it is. You can see the difference there. Now the cool thing, what they did with this frame, was that, let's just say the Sebenza here, just as an example. The Sebenza here, you can see that they're basically like this. So the frame can be overextended. But in the tilt, they're cut at a 16-degree bias like this. So that means that the friction prevents it from being overextended. Kershaw calls this their frame limiter technology, and it's very, very cool. It allows you that you can't overextend the frame lock. There's no unsightly lock stabilizer there. It's very clean, and it gets the job done. The nice thing, too, is that with a lock stabilizer, most just prevent the lock from being overextended, but not all of them prevent it from excessive movement this way, forward and backward. Since this is so thin, there's no real movement. Any movement there is negligible, whereas this is kind of a lot of movement. This is not, so that's very nice. The ergonomics of this knife, most people when they see the tilt, they instantly think, wow, that thing looks really uncomfortable. There's a lot of straight lines. This thing is very ergonomic, just like any Spyderco I've owned. It's a very large choil, which gives you a lot of detail, control over the tip. The deployment on this knife is ultra smooth due to the KVT, which is a Kershaw velocity technology. And basically, it's a captive ball bearing system. And the best way I've thought to describe it was a ballpoint pen. How the ballpoint pen, the ball at the very end of the pen tip can move. It moves around by its nature, but it can't fall out because it's captive. There's basically 7 ballpoint pen balls on either side of the pivot, which are set in a plastic washer, so that gives you this very, very smooth deployment, very fast deployment. This knife just rockets out of the handle. The flipper is very nice. You can see you can get a lot of purchase in front to open the knife like this. It's also very pointy, so you can get your finger right on top for those very fast openings. The thumb studs on this are not the easiest to use. They're similar to the Kershaw Skyline, You have to get used to them. But once you do, it comes right open, right easy. A couple things with this knife that are interesting in my opinion. The frame lock, I measured with my calipers that I have, my digital calipers. The frame lock thickness on this knife is 0.185. That's pretty thick. You know, a Strider, SNG, Hinderer, those have about roughly the same thickness titanium. It's very thick. But this cutout here, the relief cutout, is 0.04 thick. And I put that in perspective. The small Sebenza here has a 0.06 cutout. So this is not an uber strong frame lock because of that thick. I mean, you're not going to be breaking this anyway, but it's not, it's just thinner. I thought that was interesting. One also cool thing with this knife is it's very large, right? You have a 4-inch blade, a 5.5-inch handle, full titanium, but it only weighs 4.8 ounces. They crazily milled out the inside of this knife. I'm going to try and show that. If you look in there, there's a lot of milling. They even milled out the titanium, which is very cool. And you can also see that it says tilt right there. See that? I counted, and if you count the tilt, the name tilt being milled out, there's 19 milled out portions inside that handle. 19 or 20. That's insanely milled out. I mean, I don't have any other knife that is that milled out. Which is incredible, because this knife is, I mean, it's a joy to carry because it's so lightweight. The thing, though, with this clip, the clip looks nice. It blends in with the knife. It keeps with that very angular theme. And it's reversible to tip up, tip down. I keep it tipped down just because I like tip down on larger knives. One complaint I've heard, though, is that when this is in your pocket and the clip is straight, you can see how the handle sort of, the handle sort of juts out. But if you just angle the knife like that and have the clip sit at an angle, the knife sits fine. So no big deal. But one thing with the clip that I didn't really like is how it's very aggressively angled on the inside there. So when you're pulling it out of your pocket, there's a lot of resistance. You have to consciously pull this out of your pocket, which is nice because it's not coming out, but it's kind of bad because it might be kind of hard to get out if you need it out really fast. Overall, I think the tilt is an amazing knife. It's a great offering from Kershaw. It really shows that Kershaw, even though they make a lot of inexpensive stuff, they're capable of greatness. They can make a knife that's insanely nice with all the features. With the composite blade with the super steel, the titanium frame lock with the frame limiter technology, carbon fiber, ball bearing pivot, ultra lightweight. And these MSRP'd at $300. They pre-sold for about $225, $250. And I guess your best bet if you want one is eBay or the forums, and be willing to pay upwards of $300. But in my opinion, it's worth it. Totally worth it. Let's get some size comparisons here. The tilt is a large knife. You can see the military there. It's about the same size. Major difference between these, though, the military is a lot thinner in the handle. The tilt is very thick, which isn't bad because it fills your hand up nicely, but it is thicker in the pocket. The paramilitary 2, another common size comparison I use, a lot smaller, as you can see. I also have my ZTO 350, very tiny in comparison. Overall length there, you can see the tilt is much larger. Kershaw Skyline is very tiny by comparison, as you can see. And the final knife here that I have is the Chris Reeves Small Sebenza, also much smaller, and this has been my EDC since I got the tilt. So like I said, overall this knife is truly amazing. I mean, I love it. One of my favorite knives. And if you have the chance to buy one, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you buy it. You will not be disappointed. This knife, you know, it impresses me. I mean, I've handled a lot of knives. This knife is like, whoa. That's the review, guys. I've been looking forward to that. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.